Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
Brad, you and I sitting here, just us this episode, does it feel a little bit like we're being punished right now, like we're grounded?
I had to drive through a snowstorm to get here. It's a punishment from the universe for sure.
Evan's not here this episode, and I want everyone to know that he is passing up the biggest opportunity he's ever going to get on this podcast. I can't believe we're not opening by talking about the Fedorov retirement jersey, but something somehow even less likely than Fedorov's number finally being retired in Detroit happened. For the first time in the near 11-year history of this podcast, I forgot about an episode. For the first time in the near 11-year history of this podcast, Brad forgot an episode. Those two things happened on the same episode. So at 7 this morning, Evan was at my house. He's like, no one's answering the door. No one's answering the group chat. I don't know how long he hung out there. I was too ashamed to keep watching my doorbell camera, and he left. And he obviously, he planned his day around it because it was in the calendar. We had planned it. Brad, you and I had planned it, and you're going to give us the kicker in a second.
Oh, yeah.
For this morning. We had no excuse. There's no misinformation. There's no miscommunication. I don't think we even talked yesterday. We have never done this, and we did it on the same day, Brad. What happened?
The way it happened was understandable, but that also makes me even more angry because the mornings saves me so much time on Wednesdays, and I've been begging for mornings all year, and we've never been able to do it.
At least not some here and there.
They've all been Thursdays.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They've all been Thursdays. I've never gotten the Wednesday dream. We have it for this morning. It's in the calendar. Here's the worst part. I didn't even tell you the worst part. I look at my calendar 100 times a day. I definitely laid eyes on that as recently as last night.
Dude, me too.
But because I'm so used to every Wednesday at 6:30, it never crossed my mind that it might be different. I was just operating on routine. So the one morning where I could have saved all that damn time, I didn't even know.
And Evan was just grinning, saying, well, I already made plans for the evening.
Yeah.
I texted him on the side too. He's like, hey, man, I'm really sorry. Evan's a new dad, like I'm sure he's already more sleep deprived than you. And I felt so bad. And he was like, oh, no, it was great. I got to be really productive this morning. And the unspoken part was he didn't have to come to today's episode. It's the funny thing is like, you know what? Had you guys been banging on my door, I would have just rolled out of bed. I would have made it work. And I would have said, okay, until the coffee kicks in, you two are carrying the show, but you really let yourself down, Brad.
I know. Literally. On the one hand, it's understandable I missed it because we've been doing this at the same time every Wednesday all year. There was nothing that would have tipped me off this week would have been any different. But damn it, with the weather, this would have been the perfect day to have the morning.
Yeah, we're paying the price. Anyhow, folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, Sergei Fedorov's number in the rafters, the world of the NHL, and lots more. Down a man for good reason. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And somewhere, Evan just smiled for the second time today. On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we are going to be covering the Sergei Fedorov jersey retirement ceremony and all of the incredible feelings that came from that. The subsequent win over the Carolina Hurricanes in pretty hilarious fashion if you're not a Carolina Hurricanes fan. The game against the Boston Bruins the next night, which could have been an email, and then news and notes from around the league as they pertain to the Red Wings as well, especially surrounding trade rumors current and former. More Quinn Hughes information has come up, which caused some discussion, notes on the Red Wings, and more before we jump into overtime. Very quickly, two things actually. Winged Wheel Podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins is sold out this Saturday, January 17th. Can't wait to see you all there. If you want to come see us the day before as well, we are going to be at the Grayson store in Grand Rapids. Come through. It's 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There's going to be an open bar set up, and we are going to have some Winged Wheel Podcast merch to throw in with any purchase at the Grayson store. So if you want to come out, hang out with us, check out the store, have some drinks, and say hi the day before Wing Wheel Podcast Night on Saturday, January 17th. So this is the Friday, and then we can all go to the Griffins game that night together on the Friday night. Also, Wing Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA is Saturday, March 21st. Tickets are on sale. wingwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings to get your tickets. Get them quick. The gondola does go extremely fast. And this item is, I think, my favorite one yet. It is a sweet Centennial-themed cream and red co-branded Red Wings and Wing Wheel Podcast hat. So get your tickets today. They do sell out quick. All right, we have to start with the jersey retirement. And, I was talking to Ken about this after, and I was like, I really just felt watching that in the middle of it like I was a kid again. And I know that sounds dramatic or corny, but I really felt like I was just in my basement watching hockey with my dad, seeing Sergei Fedorov there, Steve Yzerman and Chris Chelios and Brendan Shanahan and Vladimir Konstantinov. And you see the footage from all of the great days of, Red Wings past, the Red Wings that we grew up with. It was such a beautiful tribute from start to finish. Like Ken and Mick, outstanding job emceeing, and I think the Red Wings production team and the media team and everything they put out before, the letter to Hockeytown from Fedorov and all of the videos and compilations, just the whole thing. I understand when people are like, oh, this is just, obviously it's going to feel good, but it's living in the past. I don't care. Like, that was an incredible thing for Red Wings fans. Obviously an amazing honor for Sergei Fedorov, who couldn't be more elated. You can see that on him. But just for Red Wings fans who at all were present in that era, that was better than you could have ever hoped for.
Oh, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere, the crowd, the energy coming from Sergei, all the little touches like the Corvette, the white skates, they nailed everything. And honestly, the best part, you could just see the excitement on Sergei.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was fired up at every point of that speech. And it was awesome to watch.
Credit to Paul Boyer for the white skates. It was a little bit of a process, apparently, getting them to stick on for the warmups, but he got it done, and it was such a beautiful homage. That's the most iconic skate in NHL history, right?
1,000%. The only thing I'm upset about is they didn't wear them during the game.
I know. I don't know that they would have held up.
Probably
they
not.
They would have had to have special ordered their skates. And can you imagine telling like Jason Robertson, for example, hey, you have to wear special skates for this game? He'd be like, no.
No, trade me right now before the game starts.
Which, hold on. But yeah, the Red Wings going out in warmups with those white skates. And yeah, Fedorov making his entrance in that deep red Corvette. Like, that had to be the only way you could do it and the best way you could do it. And I mean, actually, another touch after, we'll talk about the speech in a second, but after you thought everything was over, you're like, okay, it's time for the game. And then they call out Karen Newman to do the national anthem. And I think that's when like the chills hit me. Like, they were there the whole time, but that's when I was like, oh man, like this takes you back. Like, that was just such a perfect little touch. Everything this Centennial season has been just such an incredible, celebration of the rich history of this franchise, one of the most storied franchises in all sports. And this retirement ceremony feels like the culmination of all of that. Obviously, the season is still going, and hopefully there's more to reward, with the return to the playoffs. But that retirement ceremony, it was like it all kind of was encapsulated in this one event. It was just beautiful from start to finish. And you just let yourself stop covering it for a second from our perspective, and you just let yourself be a Red Wings fan like when you were a kid. And it was extremely cool. So credit to everyone involved in that.
It was the homage to the 90s is what it felt like.
It was.
The glory years.
Oh, the grainy video, all the best players wearing the white and red. I actually wish they would have worn the home whites that game.
They should have. That would have been sweet.
It was a little bit jarring with the Carolina Hurricanes wearing just like, it almost looked like an inverse set of jerseys, but regardless. So Fedorov's speech, there's two moments that stood out to me. One of them, when he was, he did a great job calling out all the people who were so pivotal in his career and in his life. And at one point he called out the Russian Five, yelling out their names with such excitement. And then, yelled out Vladimir Konstantinov's name, who was sitting behind him, and turned around and went and gave him a hug and an embrace. And the arena justifiably lost it. And it was just like, oh, okay, All right, now we're crying.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's nothing to add to that. The whole visual of it all and the excitement on Sergei's face again. And I mean, how do you top that moment, right?
And then the other part that everyone was talking about was Sergei talking about when he left Detroit. And not that I was expecting him to avoid it, but it would have been perfectly justifiable to not mention it at all, right? Like it's
what I thought was going to happen.
And he said, leaving Detroit when I did was a huge mistake. That's on me. Went on to talk about how, the silver linings are that his path led him to meet the love of his life and have his 2 beautiful kids, which of course is the most important thing at the end of the day. But for him to address Hockeytown and say that, like, this whole thing was closing the chapter on what was an unfinished story because of a contentious history. And it was contentious between Fedorov and the organization. And that was a really nice touch for Sergei to be willing to do that and say that. And, that was, I think a lot of people were surprised by that in a really nice way, actually.
Yeah, it was great. And then, because Illich and Karmanos were such bitter rivals, so the fact that it was Carolina made it so much worse. And somewhere up there, Mr. I was smiling when the Hurricanes got screwed over in overtime to cap off the night.
Eat it, Karmanos.
After Sergei says it was a mistake.
Oh, I thought about that after. I was like, perfect. That is perfect. Karmanos gets screwed. Not actually, but in the fake Illich versus Karmanos, the last battle there, Illich comes out on top.
It wasn't as satisfying. If Andrew Copp had just scored that goal, great. The fact that it happened the way it did, perfect. Chef's kiss, no notes.
Regardless, seeing 91 in the rafters is it would have read like a fanfic a couple of years ago. So credit to the Detroit Red Wings organization, and I hope everyone who was able to make it out to that game had a blast. And yeah, that was extremely well done, and congratulations to Sergei Fedorov. And then we got into the game, the Red Wings versus Hurricanes game, and off to a hell of a start in terms of scoring, at least for the Red Wings. Who else other than Batman himself? JVR opens scoring the first period on the power play, his 12th goal of the season from Seider and Raymond. He tipped a Seider shot and then picked up the rebound. His office in front cleaned it up and continues to be one of the best depth forwards, one of the best depth signings in the NHL right now. Puts Detroit up 1-0. And in the second period, Detroit actually goes up 3-0. The first goal from Alex DeBrincat in the second period. It was really good work by Ben Sherratt along the sideboards, keeping the puck in play, knocking some people over. Puck goes down to Copp. Copp finds Alex DeBrincat, who makes a beautiful move to step into the slot and just fires it home for his 24th of the year. And then Albert Johansson made it 3-0 off it. His first goal of the season, his first goal in 48, 49 games, something like that. Patrick Kane doing what is a normal pass for him would be a sensational pass for most other people. Beautiful cross-ice vision to find him, DeBrincat with the secondary assist there. And Detroit's up 3-0. So great start, at least in terms of the goal tally there. And the Red Wings definitely carried the energy from the ceremony into the first half of that game.
Yes, they did. And it was good to see them not just have that kind of energy after the ceremony, but be able to carry that kind of energy against Carolina. At the time, this was the game for first place in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
Which, imagine saying that on September 1st. And they felt ready for the moment, which was great. And obviously, the ceremony is going to give them a little bit of energy. It was neat, actually, I will say, to give the Hurricanes a bit of credit here, to see all the Red Wings come out and watch the ceremony on the bench, but also the Hurricanes come out to watch. That was kind of cool to see.
That's it. Those, like Rod Brindamore.
Yeah.
He knows the importance of that. Obviously McClellan is going to as well, but Rod doing that, like that, it was very cool to see and unsurprising.
Yeah.
Part of the Red Wings going up also was Carolina got terrible goaltending, like god-awful game from their goaltending. And if you had me pick the worst matchup for the Red Wings in the Eastern Conference, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. Like,
we've talked about it before. They're stylistically nightmare for Detroit.
And they execute that style so well. There's teams who try to play the same style and sometimes succeed, sometimes don't. But they really thrive against the Red Wings. Detroit struggled a lot of different years, but this year especially, they look completely unable to break through. So they took advantage of some bad goaltending, and they needed to, because, man, if it was not for John Gibson, I think Carolina would have tied it by, probably by the end of the second, it seemed like.
Oh, yeah. After the 3-0 lead, that Detroit was not a huge factor in that game.
It was mission survive for the rest of that game.
Mission failed.
Well, no.
kind of.
They succeeded. They walked away into overtime, and even that, like, I think that there were some questionable calls. I don't think the reffing was good all game. Carolina gets a goal back from Jackson Blake on the power play, and then not long after, they get one from Seth Jarvis. And that's with I think it was over 12 minutes left in the third period still at this point. So Carolina's within one. And then Shane Gostisbehere scores on the power play, and it was a 5-on-3, and you knew at that point, Carolina was already trending toward, tying the game, but with the 5-on-3, you're like, oh God, here it comes. The Raymond slashing call that looked like a phantom slashing call, I actually saw a slow-mo of that. That might be one of the best micro-second, you got this right penalty calls by a ref I've seen all year. Like, if you see the slow-mo of it, Raymond's, like, the tip of his blade gets up at the stick near the hands, taps it just before he's going to shoot, and then he whiffs on the puck. And I was like, oh my God, it looked like an actual phantom slash, but I think they actually got that one right, for folks wondering. It might have been lucky. It's still, you can argue that stuff doesn't get called a bunch of times in the game. If he doesn't whiff on the puck afterwards, there's no way they're calling that. Absolutely. But technically, it wasn't that bad. Detroit escapes to overtime, and Andrew Copp. Andrew Copp, who's been one of Detroit's best players over the past couple months, gets in front, cross-checks Shane Gostisbehere, who goes down, I think, kind of easily.
Very easily.
I didn't see too many full-speed replays. They were all slow-mos, which makes it hard to judge, but it looked like Gostisbehere was very ready to go down. Sometimes defensemen are just leaning forward like that, but Gostisbehere's a pretty experienced guy. He knows what he's doing. I think he could have probably stayed standing there.
Like, if you watch Copp's arms, he did not go from not extended to fully extended. He went from mostly extended to slightly more extended, which in that range of motion, you are not generating a lot of power.
Regardless, like, if that happened to the Red Wings, I'd be screaming bloody murder for a cross-check.
Yeah, I've seen it called before.
Yeah, it really just depends on the refs that game. And, like, you don't want to call those things in overtime. So if you think a guy dove, then I actually don't hate the non-call, but I certainly wouldn't be defending it if I was a Hurricanes fan, for sure. Like, if the roles were reversed, Evan would not have missed this episode. He would not have missed the opportunity to scream bloody murder. Regardless, though, it didn't get called. He gets the puck in front from Alex DeBrincat and buries the game winner in overtime, and the most hilarious ending, electric ending, and Detroit wins that game 4-3.
Was it the most earned victory ever? No. Was it the most entertaining victory of the year? All things considered? Yeah, probably.
Say what you want about the goals that did go in, but I thought that was another game where Gibson gave them an opportunity. Actually saved. I really think they would have lost in regulation without him.
Oh, 100%. And there's been a concerning amount of those games lately.
Yep.
Feels like the Red Wings are just carried by 4 players at any given point this year, and it's just flipped from the 4 at the beginning of the year. Now it's JVR, Copp, John Gibson, and Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah, I would think that was another 3-point game for Alex DeBrincat as well. And we'll talk about, the games on whole this season so far, but especially this month. The results have been there, but you have to start to look at how they're playing, and you start to wonder, what if this is like, okay, this has just been bad matchups, bad scheduling, but you have to make sure.
Well, it's what analytics are for, right? There's a lot of warning lights flashing on the dashboard right now, and you lift up the hood to see what's going on, and a lot of it's not good right now in Detroit land, which, again, long season, young team, hitting that mid-season lull. Understandable, though not acceptable. I think the Olympic break's going to do them a world of good, maybe more so than other teams, because, a guy like ASP who's been struggling lately, well, yeah, he's a rookie who was playing in the top 4 all year and is now creeping up on game 50. Yeah, this is uncharted waters for him, and his body and mind probably feel like crap right now. So a bit of a reset's going to probably do wonders for him.
He's just like me for real.
Yeah, honestly. Wait,
So-
you guys get resets?
Yeah, during the Olympics. Well, I mean, let's see how the timing of those games feels, but still. So Detroit leads the conference. Other teams have games in hand, but leads the conference after that game, and it's a good feeling for the Red Wings. They head into Boston the very next night. So after a long night, the game started late. It was effectively a 7:30 game. They have a late flight. They head into Boston, and yeah, it was...
I like the way you phrase it. That entire game could have been an email.
Both goalies were great. Swayman was electric. Detroit had some great A's, and Swayman Swayman and Allmark, they're every other year goalies. I've always said that. I swear to God, they share the same skill set. It's how it was when they were both in Boston. That's how they are even when they're not together. They're linked like the Sedin twins, but in a sick inverse way. So he was excellent. Talbot, I thought, was really great for Detroit as well. Boston just converted, and they had more gas in the tank. Like Detroit, they had their issues for sure. Like I think there's something to be said about Larkin and his line, among other things. But Detroit, even despite hanging in the game for a while, they just looked gassed by the end of it.
Boston's going to be just like the New England Patriots, where everybody's going to call them frauds because of a soft schedule. Because didn't someone point out Boston's got like a 10-game stretch here where like 6 of them are with their opponent on the second half of a back-to-back?
It's annoying.
What the hell? Like, I'm sure that's just coincidence and like definitely not on purpose, but what the hell, man?
It does feel like every team has a schedule. So like I try not to use the term schedule loss too much, but you think of the New Year's flip, like the holidays and the New Year's, and then now you think about this one, you're like, you don't excuse it. Like the effort, you need it to be better than that.
Yeah, these are professional athletes getting paid millions of dollars. Tough it out from time to time, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the Red Wings, to their credit, sometimes have. They have more this year than they have any other year. So it's not like this is a persistent issue. But yeah, that was like, you understand how that one happened, but it's the same thing we said about the Pittsburgh games. It's like, you can't have it happen a lot. And we're not saying it is, but you have to start to look at how the rest of January goes and hope that they can buck trends or nip these things in the bud. Because I think they've had good, not perfect, but good games. The Vancouver game, they really started to turn things around. The Montreal game, I think, Gibson was the story of that game, and Montreal had a lot of opportunities. It's not like, I called those games at the time like as complete of a game as you could have hoped for from Detroit. And I really like, as you could have hoped for, is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that, because they haven't looked on it from pretty much like the Winnipeg game before the New Year. So you just have to, one, get to the finish line of the Olympic break, because most guys are gonna have a pretty good reset there. Although some of the key ones aren't, which is, we'll talk about it.
Seider will get a little bit of one, because call me a pessimist, I feel like Germany's not going deep in that tournament.
Okay, one, now they are.
Yep.
Because any opportunity,
but if they do, it's probably going to come at the expense of one of Sweden or the States.
That's true. And two, Seider's going to play 35 minutes a game, so it's going to be as if he played in the quarterfinals at the very least.
Yeah, he'll play 10 games worth of hockey in the 6 or whatever games he actually plays.
Yeah, no kidding. So Detroit ends up breaking their win streak. They finally take a loss there, which is rare for the Atlantic Division. Thankfully, someone else lost. Tampa Bay has won 11 straight. Montreal lost in overtime. The Sabres finally lost a game. The Leafs finally lost a game, but still, it's not like every other night. There's some stupid stat about how the Atlantic Division has been going recently.
Was it the top 5 teams in the Atlantic combined for a record of 46-4?
Yeah.
In the cumulative last 50 games between them, which would put them as probably the greatest team in NHL history at an 82-game base, and that's a whole division.
It's like every single night the Red Wings won, it's like every other Atlantic team won, and the ones who lost to other Atlantic teams. It was dumb. So,
hey, the Red Wings finally lost to an Atlantic team.
Yeah. Detroit right now sits second in the Atlantic. Montreal could pass them with their game in hand, and still, they have bought themselves a little bit of separation. They're sitting okay. They're sitting actually more than okay. They're sitting pretty nice in the standings right now. but remains to be seen how the rest of the month goes as everyone has kept pace. Upcoming, they have the San Jose Sharks on Friday at home, 7 p.m. Eastern.
And for those who haven't been paying attention to the West, the Sharks are good now. That is not a free win on the bingo card.
And then on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern, they have the Ottawa Senators at home as well. We are actually not going to be back with you Sunday night. We're going to be with you. You'll hear the episode on Monday afternoon because of Wing Wheel Podcast Night with the Grand Rapids Griffins. We're doing a Monday morning recording for our usual Sunday show. So just delayed by a day, but we will be able to cover both games on that episode. Big month for Detroit. Like, there's a lot coming, and I mean, we'll talk about other players on the other side of the break here, but I kind of want to go back to what we said of, like, the results are there. Anyone who's saying the sky is falling, you can't say that. What you mentioned before, Brad, is absolutely correct. This is a young team. There's a lot of, growing pains. There's a lot of guys. It's not like they're going to figure it out by the end of the year. They're still rookies, or they're still new players to the team. It's never going to look at their best this season. Even really good teams, except for like Colorado this year, I guess, they have these periods in the season where their play isn't that great. The fact that Detroit is getting the results, it doesn't mean you have to pay the piper eventually. You can cheat it. You can cheat death here. You turn your play around, then that's excellent. During your slump, your goalie saved you points, and that's how good teams get into the playoffs. There's a tier above that for sure, and that's the Colorados. That's the whoever you want to call it, the entire Central Divisional seeds right now, sure. But the wildcard teams, the lower level divisional seeds, like they get by winning games and scraping out points when they otherwise didn't deserve it. Doesn't matter. They don't ask how, they ask how many at the end of the season. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I would say there's a handful of games where Detroit has looked good, but a lot of games where Detroit's looked like they needed help from their goalie or just got outright beat so far since like December 31st or whatever.
Yeah, we made all the New Year's same team jokes and how we didn't have to do it this year, and it almost feels like they took it as a challenge.
Well, we hope
Thank
not.
God for John Gibson.
Yeah. Well, we were talking before the show. It's like, is this team good? And I'm like, I really do think they are, because even at their lows, the floor is higher, and you're like, they're being carried by four guys. They didn't have those four guys to carry them in previous years.
Well, it's what we talked about, where whatever you want to call the benchmark, the threshold. They were just below it for the last couple of years, and they're just above it because, now that Larkin has been, by Dylan Larkin standards, bad for a good stretch here. Raymond's been inconsistent. If I had told you that happened for a month-long stretch at the beginning of the season, you'd be like, well, that's going to be a nightmare. But now you have Andrew Copp, James van Riesmdyk, John Gibson being big-time contributors. So is that going to last the rest of the year for all three of them? God, no, absolutely not. But
it's going to last into the playoffs for Andrew Copp.
But by the time those guys regress, you hope Larkin and Raymond have figured it out and they're back to their October-November form.
Yeah, and that's the scary part, right? It's just like the Dylan Larkin thing for me is loud. Axel, Sandin-Pellikka, and again, there's going to be more on these guys on the other side of the break. It's like there's parts to this that you're anticipating based on who you have playing. Like the Red Wings know they have a rookie playing as their fourth defenseman right now. And that's why I think I wish Evan was here for me to continue arguing with him. I don't think trading for a right shot defenseman is a bad idea. I actually think they need to do it. Because you're probably not trading for the third pair. You're trading to push ASP down to the third pair.
ASP Johansson would be an unmitigated disaster, and I like both defensemen.
You find a way to make it work. But like, look at how they manage ASP's shifts. They're not punishing him like game over game, but within games, they're like, okay, he's not viable from this point on. Yeah, it's like 3 shifts in the third or stuff like that. It keeps happening. So they need help there, but it's the Larkin thing for me. Anyways, there's going to be more on that. We are going to first take a quick break to hear from the sponsors of the Wing Wheel Podcast, and when we're back, more on the Red Wings, trade rumors, plenty more. Back after this. We are in the thick of the hockey season, which means our nights are late, the schedules are tighter, and there's a lot more time parked in front of a screen breaking down lines and matchups. And when things get busy like that, eating well is usually the first thing to fall apart for us, honestly. That's where Tempo has been really clutch. Tempo sends fresh, chef-crafted meals right to your door that are already cooked and ready to go in about 2 minutes. There's no prep, no cleanup, and no defaulting to takeout between periods or anything like that. It's real food that actually fits into a season where everything is moving fast and only getting faster. A couple of standouts we've had recently, the Smoky Chipotle Beef Burrito Bowl, which Evan absolutely crushed, and the grilled chicken and garlic cream was extremely good. Honestly tasted like something you'd order, but without the food coma or wallet regret afterwards. Everything is perfectly portioned for lunch or dinner, and Tempo keeps things fresh with new recipes rotating in every week. Whether you're focused on protein like I am, calories overall, or just not eating junk while watching games, there's always something that fits. And the best part is it actually does keep us consistent during the season instead of eating like it's a road trip every night, which is what we would do without Tempo. For a limited time, Tempo is offering our listeners 60% off your first box. Go to tempomeals.com/wingedwheel. That's tempomeals.com/wingedwheel for 60% off your first box. tempomeals.com/wingedwheel. Rules and restrictions may apply. Welcome back. Let's pick up where we left off before we get into trade rumors. And I think that's the conversation around a couple of the Red Wings players that's been heating up of late for people. I think let's start with Axel Sandin-Pellikka. And this is one that I'm pretty passionate about. It's not unexpected, right? Like, he earned his spot on the Red Wings to start the season, and we talked about how he did. But we also called out there's a lack of competition. If you take Axel Sandin-Pellikka out of this lineup, who are you putting in?
Travis Hamonic
and JBD in your lineup, or you're calling up, Gustafsson or whatever. You can argue until you're blue in the face about whether any of those guys on any given night can give you a better outcome in terms of production on the ice or impact. And that actually is a lot closer than some may think. Like, I think Sandin-Pellikka hasn't been, outstanding, to put it lightly, but he's having normal, I think, rookie struggles for a guy of his stature, and a lot is asked of him just by nature of where he's playing the lineup and the competition he's playing against, which is why there's so much active management of his shifts. And, you won't see him for a good chunk of a period, or when a game really locks down, you're not going to see ASP out on the ice. But what it all boils down to for me, and I'd be curious to know what you think, Brad, is because there's no one who is even a clear step ahead, you're better off just making this work with him. I think the ancillary part of that is Steve Yzerman actually should be going out and targeting a right shot D if he can get one, even if it's a depth one. But if it's a top four, obviously wonderful. But even if it's like a third pair right shot D for an average team, that's probably close to second pair on the Red Wings right now. But if you're going to keep him up here, and as long as you're not, breaking his psyche by like laying into him for making very expected rookie mistakes, you don't have Matthew Schaefer on your hands. You know that. And so you just give the kid the environment where it's like, hey, it's not working out tonight. You're not being punished for this. Like, this isn't like you're off the team. You're going to sit for the rest of this game. We're going to go to the video room after this. We're going to practice this. It's going to be a grind of a season, but it'll pay dividends by not completely obliterating the kid right now and understanding the weird situation you're in, which is that there isn't anyone else to take that spot. So if you have to pick one, you're better served to at least have him up here. That's the argument. I could also see a very good argument of send him down to Grand Rapids and he would thrive, but it makes this Red Wings team, it just puts them in a really tough spot too. So I don't know where you land on it.
I think the schedule is going to do him a lot of favors here because, like we already alluded to, it's a long season. He's never played this many games at this intensity and didn't even get an AHL season to prep for it, just thrown into the fire. The Red Wings are in a playoff race, so if you think Hamonic's a slight downgrade, even if it's just slight from ASP, well, can't do it. You're in a playoff race. You got to put your best foot forward. I don't mind that they're sheltering him a little bit, and if it really goes off the rails, put him up in the press box for a night or two to reset. But I think the Olympic break's going to be huge for him, just to let his mind recover, to let his body recover, because I'm sure right now he's at the oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
And, we've seen him for huge stretches of the season. As recently as December through early January, he was, the leading rookie defenseman scorer in that time? He can do it, and he was figuring it out. Dude's probably just worn down, beat up right now. So a bit of a reset, see how he comes out of the Olympic break. And if he's a disaster the first few games, then you reassess. But if it looks like the rest did him good, great, status quo.
It's also a tough time to be a rookie in that position in the NHL right now because it's the same amount of games, sure, but it's such a compressed schedule. And this year, more so than they've ever had, I think, in modern memories. So It's always going to, guys who are in that middle space where they are on the team, but they aren't, the Schaefers of the world, you're bound to see some struggles. So does it mean that he's actually doing great out there? No, of course. You call it what it is. And he's, except for the offensive moments where he's shining and you see his confidence comes through. Other than that, he is struggling. He's getting outmatched and he's having to figure things out on the fly. But, it's all part of the process with him. The Dylan Larkin thing for me, though, is like, I don't know what it is at this point. I don't know if it's the usual Dylan Larkin, like he's carrying something. I don't know if he's just like, hey, every other year I've been getting beat up in March, so I'm going to take it easy now, and that'll help me survive a long season with extra hockey because of the Olympics. I don't know whether it's, he can't, like the combination of line mates he has at the moment, Finney and Casper, it's not like those guys are going to drive anything. So yeah, the mix-up did good to create offense elsewhere, but you look at his 5-on-5 numbers, like his lines aren't generating anything right now. It's bad. It's really bad by Dylan Larkin standards.
Well, let's pull up the stats that Prashanth was throwing at us today. Over the last 20 games, who has more 5-on-5 points? Dylan Larkin or Marco Casper?
No way. Is it Casper?
It's Marco Casper. Over the last 20 games, Dylan Larkin has 1 5-on-5 point.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's according to Prashanth here. And I get it. He's being asked a lot. Like, he's on a line with Marco Casper, a sophomore who's really struggling, and Emmett Finney, who's a rookie, 2 years removed from being a 7th-round pick, no AHL experience of note. Yeah, he's being asked to lug a couple pianos behind him right now. Not that they're bad players or anything, but like, that's a long ways off of Lucas Raymond and Alex DeBrincat.
Those aren't remedies that are going to fix an ailing man, which is what he was before he had both of them on his wings.
Exactly, but he hasn't been playing with them for 20 games.
That's right. This came when he had Lucas Raymond on his wing.
I don't know what's up with him. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned. Maybe it's injury. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just years and years of carrying this franchise on his back. The fatigue's finally caught up. I don't know. But he owes John Gibson, JVR, and Andrew Copp a beer, because if it's not for them and the way he's been playing, this team would be cratering right now. Because, like, if you had said Dylan Larkin had a 20-game stretch like this before the season, you would have assumed that, oh, well, this thing has gone off the rails.
Or I would assume, like, he's playing with some clear injury. Like,
yeah, he actually lost his leg below the knee.
Yeah.
Like, it just got cut off.
Lieutenant Dylan. Sorry. But
so I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the fix is. Because again, they're doing well with the depth scoring right now. So I'm hesitant to screw around with that. But the top line, air quotes.
Top line is Copp, DeBrincat, Kane, period.
Yeah. I don't even know if this is the second line right now. That JVR Raymond line, that's the second line right now, the way they're producing.
There are some numbers going around about how Seider and Edmondson's numbers have been going down 5-on-5. And I know the reaction from a lot of people is like, okay, well, if you defend that, you're just being a Homer Red Wings fan. And my first reaction was still, I don't know that that's them. I think it's just like they are having to, it's like they're missing a whole weapon, which means they're on their side of the ice so much more because their first line just does not exist right now. So it's really hard to pin down, but no matter which way you shake it, it does have to turn around. This team could be a playoff team with him playing like this, absolutely. Just by the numbers right now. It gets tight if this persists for the rest of the season, and if they are in the playoffs like this, they're getting smoked. They are getting smoked. The good news is, I think even the biggest Dylan Larkin detractors would say this is not Dylan Larkin. The Dylan Larkin we know at the top of his game is, I think, a top 15. The most ungenerous he could be is a top 20 center in the league. And I would say on top of his game, he is absolutely a top half center in this league. So I think in terms of number one center. So I think like he can get back to that. But the Olympics are coming. And that's not wrong to call out or be concerned about as a Red Wings fan. You're excited as a fan of Olympic hockey, and you're excited for Dylan, you're excited for Lucas and Mo Seider and all those guys, but still, you want to make sure this guy is there when this team is making the push in the second half of February, March, and April, because that's where things have fallen off before. And it's not like this unreal record they have so far has come with the same amount of separation it had in previous years. In previous years, if this was previous years, oh my God, they might have the little X next to their name next week. But this year, it buys them almost no margin, which is unfortunate. So the optimist's view here is, wow, the Red Wings are in this spot when Raymond's gone through a big slump. Larkin's gone through an even bigger slump in his play. Marco Kasper's having an atrocious season. And goaltending's only been good since, what, December 1st?
Pretty much.
So imagine Larkin gets back to Larkin form and Kasper gets back to last year Kasper form. They might compete with Colorado. But
if everybody else keeps playing the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida should be scared of us.
But to keep things realistic, that's a big focus of Red Wings fans, and I think it's something that is same thing we talk about with Marco Kasper. Like, we dig on the rookies with Finney and ASP and Danielson or MBN when they were up. Kasper is a younger guy as well, sophomore season. There's been a lot said about them. The Larkin slump is something. Like, this is a genuine concern. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to persist, but it has to change for sure.
Something has to. And the Olympic break's one of the weird ones because obviously Larkin's playing in the Olympics, but if this is all because of injury, I hate to be that guy. He can't play in the Olympics. He's got
that'll filter itself out though. Exactly. He won't get the minutes if he's not effective.
But if he is healthy and this is something else, maybe the intensity of the Olympics kind of kicks him back into gear. I don't know. It could be a benefit either way. We'll find out, I guess. I hope, please.
It's going to be a catalyst one way or the other, I think.
Yeah, has to be.
Okay, let's transition over to some trade rumors. More came out about the Quinn Hughes saga, which I know people are going to be, groaning about. But this one we're talking about because it's Elliot Friedman put out that the sense was Quinn Hughes wanted to go to Detroit. This is something we had.
One of the teams.
Yes.
It wasn't Detroit.
It wasn't just Detroit. And that's what I want to get into, because I think the messaging that kind of floated out online, it was framed as if it was going to be from people who reported on what Fried reported, that he wanted it to be Detroit. The sense I got when I'd heard this around the time of the negotiations for Quinn Hughes was that, yeah, Hughes would have been really happy to go to Detroit. There was no sense of they passed over me, I'm never going there. I believe he let Vancouver know that. I don't know that was in the negotiations between Vancouver and Detroit. I'm sure Vancouver is not going to outwardly say that, and I'm sure Detroit's talking to, everyone tampers, with Quinn Hughes' agent. That would be known by Detroit. But it's not exactly, it doesn't change the calculus of the whole thing, right? Because Vancouver was we're not doing this without Simon Edvinsson. Detroit was we're not trading Simon Edvinsson because this team is just kind of in the same position-ish if we move him. And negotiations didn't persist after that because Minnesota came in with their massive offer that was at the Edvinsson level. And you could look at all the other teams that were in play and pick out what the Edvinsson level offer was. And that's what Vancouver was holding out for. Minnesota gave them that, and Minnesota pulled the trigger because it was in their best interest to do this as soon as possible for many different reasons. And so I think having this be framed as Steve Yzerman, held out, Quinn Hughes really wanted to come to Detroit, and it was only Detroit, and it was, I don't think that was the case at all. I think it's the facts that we already knew about this, and the piece of information that Quinn Hughes was interested in coming to Detroit as one of the potential teams is notable, but it doesn't actually change the game in my mind.
It doesn't change the trade scenarios at all because the offers were going to be what they are. Extension was not possible, so the trade was going to have to be made without one either way.
But handshake agreement,
wink, nudge, sure, but
he didn't give anyone that. He did not give a single team that.
So all I heard from this report was, he couldn't sign an extension with Minnesota yet, which means he hasn't signed an extension with Minnesota yet, which means summer of 2027 still on the table.
Okay, dude, but that's why I kind of said that at the time of the trade. I'm this isn't off the board. Now, all goes well in Minnesota. It looks like Quinn is the kind of guy who would want to reward that. So if he's happy enough, then that might happen. And New Jersey's not exactly the kind of team that looks the most solid long-term right now.
Oh, that organization's a dumpster fire right now, but that's an entire different conversation. I'm just hoping right now that Dallas just beats the brakes off Minnesota so badly in the first round that it puts hesitation in his mind about extending.
That's the hope, right? Because I do think if he does go to market, it means probably not Minnesota, and then Detroit's in. You at least know that it would be a destination that he would consider.
Yeah, if it's a half dozen teams, well, guess what? Detroit's almost never been on a list of a dozen teams for major free agents. So if they're on a list of a half dozen teams, that's a major win. So,
well, we won't be talking about that every day until then. Thankfully for that. No,
just most days.
No, the listeners are going to crawl through their car stereos and throttle you, which would actually be great technology for them to find. We'd be kept in line even when Evan's not here. Trade hypotheticals. Robert Thomas's name has been out there from St. Louis. And that's another one where it's like, that is a guy that you don't typically ever see on the market. He is cost controlled through 2031, $8.125 million. He is 26 years old right now. You are getting his absolute best years. He is consistently a point per game player. Plays center. You would have to give up a ton for him, but that's the kind of player it's worth giving up a ton for. Plays the game the way Steve Yzerman and Todd McClellan would like, plays power play 1, plays PK 1, responsible player, works well along the boards. Everything you might want that's outside of the usual this guy produces. Remarkable playmaker. If he's on market, you're going hard at Robert Thomas, right?
If he's actually on the market, this is target number 1. This is the top of my list. I will pay a king's ransom to get this guy on the Detroit Red Wings tomorrow. And was it Armstrong in St. Louis? Didn't he have I don't think it was a quote, but someone reported that he said, yeah, we're willing to listen. Even when we get into playoffs, we just get killed by Colorado anyway. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but not that much, actually.
I love the old hockey guys who just give interviews. They don't care. They're like, yeah. I'm saying what I'm going to say.
I don't think he said it publicly, but I think it was something that was reported he said privately.
That's a pretty popular sentiment among a lot of GMs. That kind of thing.
It's the right attitude. I hate these teams that get into the playoffs as a 7-8 seed and load up and give up futures. It's like, congratulations, you made the playoffs. You're cannon fodder. It's the right approach to take, and St. Louis is smart to do it. Especially for a team that looks like they are careening right towards a rebuild. So
they kind of have been. They salvaged a lot of years where they became those greater than the sum of their parts teams where they stayed good for longer than I gave them credit for, which, I mean, there's no point in sucking earlier than you need to, of course. But yeah, I don't know how much longer they can hold this off. And, they're looking at a change of the guard in terms of management down the road here. And you want to set things up so that they are going to have the pieces they need to succeed. It's a team in the East as well, which might attract St. Louis. It's the two teams have a history of dealing with each other.
Long history of dealing with each other.
So,
and Detroit's got more than enough assets to overpay comfortably.
Yep.
2 first-round picks and a top prospect. Go nuts. I don't care.
Yeah, because you're not even having to pay this guy. What's Hughes going to make? 15, 16 million when he gets extended more if he wants it. So
4.5 years. Yeah, please.
At just over 8. So I'm all over Robert Thomas. And then it's that is a team whose center depth actually kind of nasty especially for playoff hockey. You like that a lot.
Yeah, Robert Thomas to play 3C behind Andrew Copp. Talk about being spoiled.
Well, as of right now.
Hilariously, though, with the way that line's going, you don't break it up, and then all of a sudden, your third line, you just take Comfort out of there, and you put in Robert Thomas and JVR and Lucas Raymond, and holy hell.
That line right now would be filthy.
That would be disgusting. Larkin's still, drowning on an island, but...
You look at the trade offers that you had for Quinn Hughes, and that's where you start to draw from. You don't do the Edmondson thing.
And I know people right away are thinking, well, we're not giving up for Robert Thomas what we're going to give up for Quinn Hughes. No, you give up more because you're getting 4.5 years instead of 1.5.
It gets
not necessarily more, but you're in the same ballpark.
I think the tiers are going to be about the same there.
Yeah.
Right shot center, plays two ways, perfect age, perfect contract. Like, that's going to be quite nice.
Yeah. Immediate trade target, number one. Because you know what him only making 8.1 allows you to do?
Go out and get someone else.
Afford Quinn Hughes next summer.
Unironically.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the amount of cap space Detroit has now. And before it was like, okay, you don't trade multiple firsts and Carter Bear and, ASP for Quinn Hughes because of all the ifs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
or
not
maybe
for a year and a half.
With the extension handshake in place, but with the circumstances being what they were, no, you couldn't in that scenario.
I don't think anybody realistically thinks Detroit's in their cup window in the next year and a half. 4.5 years?
Should be.
Damn well better be.
If things go well, yeah. So, yeah, with Robert Thomas, whatever top prospect you like of the Red Wings forwards, I can't think of one that's off limits.
None. Zero off limits. Everything's on the table. We always talk about the big five on the roster. They're unavailable in this because, again, lateral move, what's the point? But if you're just talking futures, yep, pay up as much as St. Louis wants.
Yep. This is where you make a deal.
Throw in a couple extra picks, have Justin Falk take the same plane.
Hell yeah. Get the playoffs this year to make Thomas. Well, actually, you had Thomas's team, and you might, I don't know, have 3 more points, I guess, against this insane Atlantic. Maybe not much, but still.
I was going to say, and I don't know if Robert Thomas is local, but he played for London. It's not too far from Detroit.
No, he'd be pretty familiar. Actually, it's pretty, from Windsor pretty far up. A lot of those cities are split in terms of their allegiances. And during the Red Wings heyday, even a lot of what would have been default Toronto fans grew up Detroit fans. I'm a Windsorite. I'm a Detroit fan.
He's from Aurora, Ontario, so didn't grow up this close to Detroit, but at least played there for a few years in London.
All right, and a couple quick Red Wings organizational notes here. Michael Pradl, 3rd-round pick from 2025, goaltender, has committed to Colorado College, so excited to watch him with the Tigers next year. And the least surprising news of the day, Trey Augustine, one of the best goalies in the nation, has been announced for the Richter Award watch list. So he's obviously one of the goalies, potentially nominated or winning that award. And he's
got like a 998 save percentage, so that feels about right.
I can't remember. The last goal he let in was nom. So
it was actually minor peewee.
Bad day for him.
Well, that was because he got called up to play in the World Juniors at 12 years old.
He could be qualified to play for the men's national team in Canada as an American at that point. So, all right. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we're back, the final segment on this episode of the Wing Wheel Podcast, back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. If you want to support the show, get access to our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones. We let loose, we have fun. You get bloopers, you get thoughts with Evan. We'll simulate those for today. Well, maybe we'll call him in for that. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, and you're automatically entered into all of our giveaways. For example, we give away 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game, going directly to our patrons. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. Another benefit for patrons is they get their questions entered into the overtime threads, and some of them make the main show. All the rest get answered in the bonus episode. Let's start with Josh, who says the Red Wings now have the most difficult remaining schedule in the league. If we go 500 in the last 34 games, we'll be at 94 points. Is that enough for the playoffs this year?
It'll be close.
This year? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to say no, the way things are trending with everybody else in the Eastern Conference. That would require a few teams to fall off pace, I feel like, but it'll keep them competitive down the stretch.
Yeah. The remaining strength of schedule thing, everyone plays tough teams, everyone has back-to-backs, but it really just feels like Detroit's getting battered with those. I'm sure it's not like an aberration compared to the rest of the league, but still.
Do those strength of schedule formulas factor in back-to-backs, or is it just this is the quality of the opponent you play?
It depends on the model at hand.
Okay.
So, take them at face value. They're good just to give you a broad concept of what the team has ahead. I think by and large, you could safe to say the Red Wings have a lot of really good teams left to play. You're not upset with a 500 points percentage, but it would definitely be a regression. So if you could eke out anything more than that, even a few wins better than that, and all of a sudden you're a 100-point team. Few more wins in a 34-game span is actually, it's not insignificant, so I don't say that lightly, but still, the path is there. The Red Wings, it's not like we just talked about how they've been struggling in January, but they were leading the conference a couple days ago. So they've built themselves the margin if you just don't look at anyone else around them in the Atlantic, in the East. Best James Bond says, do you aggressively trade for anyone remaining on the Vancouver Canucks roster?
No.
Aggressively?
Who are you in love with on that team to bring to Detroit? There's a couple guys I
you really like, yeah.
But they're not top 5 on my list of guys who could be available.
Well, I think everyone is.
Like, I like the St. Louis options more than I like the Vancouver options.
Yeah, just by virtue of...
Like, Marcus Pettersson, maybe?
Sure, what about, oh, did you see Garland kick away the stick?
I love that.
That was so funny. Someone in the KHL did that, I think, recently, too. Someone going to go stick check him, and he just, kicked his leg out.
Someone did that in Washington a few years ago. I can't remember if it was Kuznetsov or Oshie, but like...
Such a funny move.
Yeah. I seen 3 separate videos of that with different music overlaid. The best one was everybody was kung fu fighting.
Yeah, that's the only one that really should be.
Yeah.
Garland, you like?
Look at that contract and you'll like it less.
Contracts don't scare me. They really don't. Kiefer Sherwood, obviously. But like the thing is, when you say aggressively, are those guys at the level of the other players we've talked about? Absolutely not. But the price might actually be so much closer than people think. Like, I shudder to think what Kiefer Sherwood's going to get at the trade deadline.
As a pure rental.
But, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, they're thinking about Höglander, and that's been a funny...
Are you even giving up a second-round pick for him at this point? He's been a 4th liner on a bad team.
How much has he actually played? Is the
Not much.
And he's small. Yeah, 10 minutes a night for the past few nights.
Sweet.
And this season, he has a whopping 0-0-0 stat line over 13 games.
So we'll be trading for less good Jonathan Berggren.
Yes. Aggressive? No. Are they an interesting team? Yeah. It just depends on what the market's going to do. And I just feel like the bidding is going to go so high on guys like Sherwood. 200-foot high compete says, which Griffins players are you most excited to see on the Ice During Wing Wheel podcast night in Grand Rapids? Whoever is going to pummel someone from Milwaukee as that feud continues. Also, I've been a Carter Mazur fan for a long time. Do you think he still has a shot to make an impact in Detroit, or do you think the injuries have just caused him to miss too much time in development? Thanks as always.
He's got his work cut out for him at this point because the Red Wings pipeline is very full and a bunch of them have already started to graduate.
I will say the cards are stacked against him. However, if he does stay healthy, I think a lot of people will be surprised by what he can still do. And that's a big if, right? Like, availability is the best ability. And if you're missing that before you even make the show, that doesn't go unnoticed. But if he figures that out, and if it does turn out to just be, more freak accidents than anything else, and he stays healthy, that's the kind of guy who is on a fast track to the NHL. But he just could never stay on that track for too long. So his abilities will translate well to the game. He just needs to play games. So it's not too late. It's not impossible. It would just be a hell of a recovery, comeback man of the year kind of thing if he did it. I've seen it before. Could happen again. Cletus says, is Ben Sherratt the next David Perron in the sense that Steve should pay him to stick around this offseason? I feel like this team cannot afford to lose him just based on the physicality he brings to this team, and I feel like he's been significantly better this season on the second pair. Yeah, you can't lose Ben Sherratt. Right now, you already have 3 defense positions that are a problem. You can't make a 4th. You got to keep Ben Sherratt as of right now.
Well, in theory, a second pair of Ben Sherratt and ASP will be a lot better next year because it'll be a second year of ASP. He's no longer a rookie. You would hope for the progression and that he doesn't do the Albert Johansson thing.
Yep. Then that's the theory. But still, like, that's one you saw, but you don't want to make his partner now be an issue because before the season, you're like, you need a top 4 left shot D. Well, now you definitely need one if you let Sherratt go. So next one is an interesting question that's been asked a lot over time, but it's a good one. Matt says, have we reached the point where Seider would go first in a redraft? Hughes has played 2 more seasons, yet he only has 20 more games played than Mo. There's no doubt Jack has great talent, but he averages 62 games a season, and if Four Nations is any indication, I'd seriously question his ability to play in big games.
Understanding what the 32 hockey men like and the way the game's played and the emphasis on playoff hockey, I don't think it's even much of a debate. I think Seider goes 1. He's going to be a potential Norris candidate this year as a 6'3" or 4", whatever he's listed at these days, right shot, mean defenseman who defends at an elite level and puts up offense. There are 32 NHL GMs who would comfortably take that at first overall.
I think it's still a split decision. I think at the start of the year, it would have been definitely heavily in Jack's favor, which is the last time I answered this question. And I think now it's more in Mo's favor. Yeah. It could flip back. Like if Jack plays 82 games and can stay healthy, like that guy has, I think, some of the most underrated talent at his position in the league.
If Jack Hughes puts up 100 points every year, which he hasn't done yet, not even once, but if Jack Hughes puts up 100 points every year,
99 and 78's killer.
Yep. And Mo Seider has a season like this every year, 60, on pace for 60 points, elite defensive metrics. I'm still convinced almost every NHL GM's taking the 60-point elite defender who's big and shoots right and is mean.
Hockeytown Racing Academy says, at this point, is it a good idea to send Casper to Grand Rapids for a week or 2 during the Olympic break to help him find his game and a smidge of confidence?
No, you send him to a therapist, not Grand Rapids.
I don't hate the idea, honestly. Like, any other time, I would say, give him the rest. But this is bigger than sophomore slump right now. Like, he needs something.
Something.
Seider, I barely know her, says, I told my wife before the game last night that this is a scheduled loss. She said that I've been listening to the short guy from the Red Wings podcast too much. Needless to say, I was proud of my wife, but disappointed in the team.
To be fair, my friend, you were right.
You were right. You and the short man were right. Eric Asmus says, did anyone else catch on the TNT broadcast? They said McClellan told them some of the rookies are starting to hit a wall. I know ASP moves the puck well and is taking his lumps learning on the fly, but I just can't help but think that a game like last night against a Boston team you knew was going to try to inflict physical punishment, that maybe that would have been a good time to insert Hamonic and give ASP a night off. Can't believe Casper and Elmer are all that fatigued. The former doesn't play a lot of minutes and the latter has barely played. Finney has to be getting tired though. Also feels like last night would have been a good time to insert Shine for fresh legs and physical play. Yeah, I don't hate the idea of that, like a Shine type, a Watson type, someone just to come in. I think Leonard had a good injection to this lineup. If this team continues to trend like this, just to give them some legs.
Why haven't they tried JVR, Larkin, Raymond yet?
Legs? Is that too, because the competition they'd have to play against, is that too much for JVR? Is that sinking him and ruining a good thing?
Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe, but that frees up matchups for the Kane DeBrincat Copp line, and it bumps Casper and Finney down to 10 to 12 minutes a night, which is probably a blessing for them right now.
Lucas Raymond says, who is your ideal first-round matchup that's realistic?
Like in terms of entertainment value, or you think you could actually win it?
I think the latter. I think like what is the best matchup for Detroit?
Toronto.
That's wild that that's the answer, because you might look at Buffalo, but Buffalo's had Detroit's number this year.
Yeah. First 2 names that went through my mind were Montreal and Buffalo, and I'm like, nope, don't like either of those. Toronto's mental fragility would equal out Detroit's inexperience.
Boston's physicality, I think, would scare me. They would just dominate Detroit physically.
Florida and Tampa, I'd be worried Detroit even scores a goal.
I mean, I don't want to play Sidney Crosby in the playoffs, so Penguins no. Flyers, maybe.
Well, the only way you're getting Pittsburgh is if you win the division.
It might happen, Brad.
Carolina is the worst matchup imaginable.
If Carolina...
that almost feels like the most likely the way things are going.
No, because Carolina's leading the Metro.
Yeah, and if Detroit makes the playoffs, I'm still pretty confident that's going to be in a wild card spot.
Think so?
Yeah.
We'll
so
see.
it's Tampa or Carolina, and I don't like either of those.
No thanks. Yeah, we'll take the Toronto Maple Leafs. Although, do you risk being the ones to...
Ottawa did it last year. That curse has been lifted.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right. One more quick break, and when we're back, some important housekeeping items about the show and about Wing Wheel podcast nights. So back after this. All right, again, big weekend coming up. Wing Wheel podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins, Saturday, January 17th. So excited to see everyone there, for you to see the co-branded merch for the live show featuring Dan Watson, Grand Rapids Griffins players, and more. And also for anyone who wants to come out again the night before, we are going to be at the Grayson store starting at 4 p.m. There's going to be an open bar, and we're going to have Wing Wheel podcast merch for anyone who makes a purchase at the Grayson store. If you just want to come hang out, have a drink with us, and we'll all head over to the Griffins game that night as well together. And Wing Wheel podcast night at the LCA with the Detroit Red Wings, the second one of the season, the last one of the season, Saturday, March 21st, the game against Boston. Your ticket gets you a discounted ticket to the game and a sweet piece of co-branded merch, a Centennial-themed Detroit Red Wings and Winged Wheel podcast co-branded hat, the pregame live show featuring Ken Daniels and other special guests. You also get access, of course, to, like I mentioned, the game, and every ticket represents a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation. All of that and lots more. So go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings for those tickets. Thank you to all of you who have tuned into the show. To our new listeners, welcome to the show. We usually have one more schmuck in here, but he had today off. And to all of our listeners of old, we hope you're enjoying what has been one hell of a ride this season. To all of our Patreon supporters, we cannot thank you enough. Patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to join the Dub Club and get those great benefits. And if you want to help us out, but Patreon's not for you, that's totally okay. Wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, leave a rating, a review, a like, the thumbs up, the little heart icon, whatever it might be. Tell a friend about the show. Those all really do help us out a lot. And to all of our sponsors, we thank you. And to our name level supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. Arjun Shankar, Aikfer, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Klaus Sorensen, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, below average ball hockey goalie, Matthew M. Rice, Darb EQ, Sea Lion, Detroit Style, Deep Dish Seider, Bengo Bango, Hassam Al Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger, That's What I Appreciate About You, Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. at the Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood, Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Caro Brutanen-Naluski, Jay Gollum, John Ingalls, Thick David, hashtag Let's Go Red Wings, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose, I Miss Pew Suitor, Steve R., Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Eyes Are Playing Stan, Clip Clop Nene, Podgy713, Unapologetic Gibson Truther, Griffin Not From Grand Rapids, Marty, Kazi the OG13, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Mike, Asher, August, Brian Munn, Improved But Flawed, Chris 99 Jones, Putting on the Moritz, Trevor Centerfit, Adams Red Wings Takes, Kurt Chin, Adam Ernie Slander, General Andy Bohan, the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Dylan Larkin, Trade Sacrifice, Forever Fedorov Fan, Matt Keeler, Linda Hall, Connor Leighton, Osgood, Better Best, FTP, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, the Hodag, Daddy Pastor Jake, the 50 Shades of Grace, Maximilian, Commander Ben Bairn of the Cheesebag Space Force, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank, Stanley, Rosie, Posey, That Other Guy, Pucking, Puck, Carl Thames, Nerno, The Hat 123, Steven, A. Ron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Stinky Britches, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Massiballs, Wings fan of St. Louis, Scott, Lucas Raymond, Cops, Gump Lip, Trent Thorough, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, Fight Night at the Joe, Axel's Sandy Pelican, The Octopi's Ninth Leg, Finney the Pooh, I'm Evan, you're Evan, we are all Evan, brand new name level supporter, great name, Will Utley, brand new name level supporter, welcome to the Dub Club. Thank you so much to both of you for all of your support and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We will talk to you Monday. See you at Winged Wheel Podcast Night with the Grand Rapids Griffins.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Wingwheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Wingwheel Podcast on Instagram.